Been a while since we've talked some AEW on the Hitting the Turnbuckle podcast, but we're back with a bit of an update and a preview of Revolution coming up as well. So we're going to talk about that. Some new names coming into AEW, which we'll talk about. Some departing names as well, which we'll mention during the show. And of course, I am here with the All Elite B, the genius from the FTR. Follow the Revolution Facebook page, Mr. Gary Joe, who you just announced this week that you'll be interviewing Willow Nightingale soon.
Yes, sir. I'm very excited for that. AEW's Media's team got back to me right away. I had to select a date that they gave me, so now I'm just waiting for the green light for that date. I can't say exactly when, but when it does happen, it is going to be pre-recorded because that's what they want, which is
You do?
fine.
Yeah.
So once that will be uploaded, that will certainly be on the FTR Follow the Revolution YouTube channel. So very exciting for that, and it's going to be a great spring, I feel, because I'm also doing the VIP experience for AEW.
Yep.
That's my preliminary round before I go to All In, I think. Very exciting time for Follow the Revolution, I think.
Definitely so. Also very exciting for AEW. Look, let's get the departures out the way first before we get into the excitement of the incomings. Obviously, three that we know of that have gone recently. One showed up straight on NXT. Ricky Starks, now Ricky Saints. That was done out the door. Miro and Malachi Black. Two names but to be honest, three of these names that were always for the last 12 to 18 months, it has kind of been they've gone, they've not gone, they're staying, they're gone, they've not gone, they're staying. It's fine. I suppose it's kind of good in a way, not in a way that they've gone, but in a way that everything can now just stop about those particular three guys. They've gone. We wish them well. Ricky's already, started over in NXT. The other two may follow suit. I don't know, but it's good to actually just put that to bed for now.
Yeah, that's well put, Adam. Because I mean, when Ricky, what's his name again? Sorry,
Saints, Saints.
Saints. I guess it makes sense. New Orleans Saints, I suppose. Ricky's going to be good in NXT, I think. Malachi, I think it's a no-brainer. He's certainly going to be returning to WWE. I think it's going to be maybe the SmackDown after WrestleMania, if I have to guess.
Mhm.
The reason why I'm thinking SmackDown because that's where his wife is. So maybe even the Raw after WrestleMania, but that really remains to be seen. Miro's already booked for a show, so good for them, and hopefully good things will bloom for them in the future.
Yeah, definitely. So look, it happens. It's going to happen more so nowadays with so many different companies to choose from. People are going to jump from one to the other to see if the grass is greener. Some have already jumped one to the other, back to the other. In this case, potentially. I don't know. I didn't even think Ricky Starks was going to be made for WWE. I've slightly changed my tune on that a little bit recently, but. What I will say, and this is the last thing on the WWE stuff before we move on to the incomings, that even with Triple H in charge, they still can't get the NXT call-ups right, which was proven in their releases recently. The amount of NXT ones that they just had nothing for, and it bows my point is if you don't have a storyline for these people, leave them where they are and just let them carry on in NXT instead of releasing them. But hey, that's just my view. I don't know if that view's shared with others, and I don't particularly care either.
I mean,
But that's just my.
I'm not going to disagree with that because this might be a hot thing to say, like a very hot take. But I do watch WWE because I'm part of predictions groups and everything. So me being part of that, I have to see how my predictions are turning out, and I follow this YouTube channel that it highlights pretty much the entire durations of Raw and SmackDown and sometimes the PLEs. So I'm gonna say it. Stay down in NXT much as you can because I feel like once you get your time in the main roster, Triple H feels very backwards.
Mm.
Um, what are you doing with Lyra? Like ever since she won the women's IC title, you haven't done anything with her. And he's kind of falling in the footsteps of Vince when it comes to some booking decisions. I mean, I know this is not NXT and WWE little talk here, but when you're having Solo Sequoia go after Cody a couple weeks ago, and now that feels like it's nothing. Like
Mm.
I'm just saying, like I feel like WWE has really dropped significant when it comes to their, I guess, their ratings, if you want to talk about that, um, with Raw going on Netflix, but losing over 3 million viewers within a month. I think some fans see, okay, Triple H, man, you need to book a little book a little bit better, because I'm not just saying this because I am the bias of the bias AEW fan, right? I just I've been very impressed with Tony's booking these last few weeks with Collision as well, and that this is why I love our collaboration, Adam, because you give me this platform here on your stuff to really express how I feel. So
Yeah, I agree. I mean, for me, like personally, I don't know. Maybe they got the Royal Rumble winner wrong. I don't know because normally this time of the year would be the time that it starts to really. I haven't. I've been a bit disinterested myself in it recently. The stuff on Friday was confusing with The Rock and stuff. But look, that is what it is. That's WWE. Let's concentrate on the stuff that we're talking about. And now we're going to talk incomings in AEW. Now there was the one that we'll mention in a minute, which was the one that was announced yesterday, I think, on Collision. Let's talk about the one that aired about an hour ago on X or Twitter, whatever you want to call it. That being the Bullet Dog War Dogs member Clark Connors. Cheap plug. Anybody that's watching or wants to see an interview with Clark Connors, just go into my playlist of special guests and you will see him. There's a bit of a Mick Foley cheap pop, cheap plug thing. Clark's put the AEW roster on notice. Obviously, Gabe Kidd was going to talk about him in a minute. He was on Collision this past week against the Butcher. He didn't quite think that was competition, but hey ho, that's Gabe Kidd. Clark Connors coming in, Gabe Kidd coming in. I saw a post, maybe in a year or so, I can't quite remember, that had the Elite and then the War Dogs underneath it. So, Driller Mahoney and people like that. Are we getting to that point? I'm thinking Blood and Guts or something, and we're going to see a War Dogs Elite brawl in AEW, perhaps.
I mean, that needs to be on a pay-per-view, not a Dynamite.
True, true.
Oh man, like if anybody that has not seen Gabe Kid, now is the time. Like, I mean, now Clark Connors, and just if we could get Drilla in that mix too, like it really would make me believe maybe that could certainly lead to that, because the Young Bucks shared something last night on Twitter which was interesting, and that was the Elite being together, and that was of course the Bucks and Kenny.
Mm.
Um, so maybe we could see that, Blood and Guts maybe at Forbidden Door. I mean, you guys would be spoiled for that one, uh, and I would love that so much for you guys. Um, oh, I'm sorry, that would be All In, right? No,
No, no,
Forbidden
no,
Door.
no. Forbidden Door. No, no, no. You've said Forbidden Door now. We'll have that.
I think I meant to say All In. Uh, but either way, man, that would be awesome. And just the surprises that keep coming with AEW since the new year. It, I said this before the new year started, on my socials, that once AEW signs a new deal, they need to really change for the good. And I don't know who's talking to Tony, but damn, this the streak of hot shows, these amazing venues that I absolutely love, seeing them, it's just it's very enjoyable. So if we could in fact see Clark Connors, if it's not going to be maybe with Gabe Kidd,
Mm.
go ahead. Adam Page, Clark Connors. That's all you need to know. That
Well,
that would be that would be awesome.
that would be that really would be. I'm definitely going Forbidden Door now because that is the show we're getting this year, and I'd obviously be slightly biased by the fact that we're going to be getting Forbidden Door. So, and obviously the relationship Gabe and Driller have with Rev Pro, and I've got a feeling they're going to be involved in somewhat in Forbidden Door, and New Japan all coming together. So Potentially that we'll see. Look, it could, as you say, could well be all in over in there in Texas, I do believe. But second one, the second name coming in, and it's a name that we were been waiting for a while. We thought back end of last year we were going to see him, but visa issues and whatnot took that away until now. And the first vignette aired last night on Collision for Speedball Mike Bailey's incoming AEW, well, debut, really, for want of a better phrase. Two questions for you, Gary, though. When do you see this happening? And secondly, who, without trying to not trying to put a negative spin on it, but whose time does he take away off of Dynamite and Collision? Because obviously we talk about rosters in AEW, and they've got a hell of a roster, and people can say that he's replaced the three that have gone, but the three that have gone were at home, so they weren't really on TV much. Where does Speedball Bailey fit in that equation?
Mm, this is a good question. Um, I will answer the first part, and you know what? They already had a good program on TNA that one time. Give me Will Ospreay and Mike Bailey. Like, you really want to start red hot with Mike Bailey's time in AEW? Feed him right to Will, because I think after Revolution with Kyle and that steel cage match, I think they're gonna move away from that. I think I could be wrong, but Mike Bailey and Will Ospreay was perhaps maybe one of the matches of the year for TNA with that match. But it doesn't necessarily have to be Will. You have so many good people like Bunny Matthews.
Hmm.
There's, Kenny says this is the year that he wants to give back to the roster. Give him Kenny. It's just this is what I love about AEW. There's just so many endless possibilities when it comes to their roster. Um, so that's what I could see. But how you would debut him, I really like one thing that Cruising with Kayfabe predicted.
Hmm.
If they're gonna do a Face of the Revolution match at Revolution,
Yeah, they normally do, don't
debut right
they?
there. Mike is well known for the California area. He had a lot of good success in the Bay Area too, so that would be really really cool. That I would prefer that instead of like an interference running or something like that.
Hmm.
The way they made his official, announcement with him being signed was perfect. Showing a video package instead of him being involved in
Yeah.
whatever. This was smart in my opinion. So you really want to hype his debut. So I don't want to take the thunder away from Cruising with Kayfabe because that's a damn good prediction. Um, I don't know. That's what I'd like to really feel because I want it to feel unpredictable for his debut. Who could it be against? How could it be executed? But we shall see.
Yeah, we
I'm
shall.
very excited for the signing, man.
Yeah, it's been a while. It's been one, as I said, one that we've kind of spoke about for the Continental Classic. It didn't quite happen. We now know that it was visa issues. So, but it'll be interesting to see if, well, when. It's not even an if now. It's when he debuts and how. I think Cruising with Kayfabe have probably got it pretty much right. I'd like to think with that, to be honest. But there's one more name actually, and it just sprung to mind whilst we were talking there. Another TNA name, someone seemingly that has. Well, conflicting reports. One was that he's basically chose AEW. The next one was, well, we sort of chose AEW, but he's waiting. He's waiting to see who gives him the best offer, which is kind of contradicting to what they said the 24 hours before that. And that's Josh Alexander. I honestly thought that name was a shoe-in for WWE, to be quite honest. Not because I think he suits there better. I just thought he was going to be it just the way he was pulling out of all the indie dates, because you can't really do independence when you're on WWE as much as you can in AEW. I thought that was the when I heard that, I thought that was it. But it looks as though, unless things change, it looks as though he will be coming to AEW as well. I mean, the mantra is where the best wrestle, right? And like, if you've got, Bailey coming in, you're gonna get Josh Alexander. He had some clinics with Will Ospreay last year in TNA as well. I don't quite know how. I mean, I don't know what Tony Khan's building a dream roster, it seems, in AEW. And if Josh Alexander comes in, you're going to tick another name off of probably one of the best pure wrestlers in the world coming to AEW.
Hmm. One of the really, really underrated technicians, in my opinion, when it comes to wrestling today. So I I was wondering too, is he really going to be signing with AEW or not? It's what we have in our minds as wrestling
Mm.
fans when we speculate things, when things get reported. But um, with me passionate with AEW, when you see because I'm Mike Bloom, sorry, not Mike Bloom, but
Barry
uh,
Blue.
um, doing things with Kenny and all that, and him being the agent for this person, that person. It's that track record has proven for them to sign with AEW. So, um, man, Josh's dream is to be in New Japan. He said that multiple times. So obviously in AEW, you got that chance. Um, his first feud, though, oh man, like you said, dude, it's like a dream roster. It's incredible. You lose some of the assets that you really, you're depressed about, like the Lucha Bros and
Yeah.
the Ricky Starks and, Malachi Black. But AEW really counters with these amazing talents. And, people are going to be subjective on that. But, you know, we're not the ones that make the decision. It's them, you know. So it's what I don't know. Tony is just he doesn't stop, and I love that. And you know, I know this is a little off topic, but I made a post today with yeah, it may have been sad with most likely Ray Phoenix leaving, so the Lucha
Mm.
Bros will be gone. But guess what? They have highlighted hologram and Commander at the right time.
Yes.
This tag team is fire, man. So it's what a time to be an AEW fan. I
Yeah.
will say that it's just
It is. It
incredible.
is a time. It is time. And yeah, if Josh does come in, he'll just add another great name, another great name to the roster that is AEW. But look, we'll run through. What we'll do is we'll run through the current Revolution card. We'll add in bits about what's happened this week. And I know, I believe just before we go there, I think the Outrunners have got a match. Is it next week? Number one contenders tag match. I believe that's on tap.
Yes, that is correct.
So yeah.
That's interesting to me. I'm gonna be honest. Like, shouldn't the winner of the tournament face Takeshka? Why is Takeshka making the uphill, um, battle to
I know.
uh, that? I will say, I will criticize on AEW with that. That's just weird to me. But I guess your opportunity to win this is facing one of the all-time greats. I guess
Yeah,
weird.
weird. But never mind. Let's get into we mentioned it earlier. What Osprey Fletcher cage match? Now, Mark Davis kind of I think he realigned himself with Don Callis' family, if I'm right in thinking. But Will Fletcher, Will Fletcher, Will Osprey, Carl Fletcher, steel cage match, Revolution. It sets up going to be a number. I mean, the card is ridiculous of what they've got, and this match is just sort of the first match that come onto my was on my screen here. Yes, feud ender. I would assume. Well, potentially. I don't. Obviously we don't know that. They had a great tag match in Australia as well. Obviously with Kenny in the mix on this. Um, do you see? I mean, look, Fletcher's got high stock at the moment in AEW. I mean, we're going to do a proper prediction show probably next week for this. But do you think that a loss wouldn't necessarily hurt Fletcher massively at this point? Would it?
No, I just think Kyle is really just he has really proven to be one of the best on this roster. Honestly, like I think Kyle is just on a roll. I'm just glad that he's still a focal point
Mm.
in the company. If I can be honest, this is where sometimes I had scratch with some fans with their thoughts. Well, if Kyle loses, he's buried. No, he's not buried. Um, you know, if the match turns out to be one of the highlighted matches of the night, which no one will in Kyle, it's going to be.
Yeah,
And these two have so much great chemistry. I love this feud. I don't want it to end. Um, but sometimes good stories come to an end because you got to move on to the next. It's only fair to the roster. Um, but don't be surprised if somebody goes on top of that cage and then something crazy happens. This is probably going to be maybe one of the best cage matches that we're going to see in a while. So that's how high my expectations are. So, and Kyle really tells a story when he's in the ring. So
he does. No, he really does. He's going to be great. That's going to be an amazing match. Again, I agree. I don't think the a loss would hurt Fletcher at all. To be honest, not in a cage, not against Osprey. It would just be it'll be an incredible match. Another one that I was gonna go to Takeshita Omega, but I wanted to get a one before that, and that is MJF Hangman. I have really loved the build to this. Dynamite for me was a great storytelling Dynamite this week. It really focused on the right things, and one of the things they done here was they focused on those two. Great, amazing promo. The match itself is like, they're two former champions. They've gone through different paths. They've had ups, they've had downs. Hangman's had the stuff with Swerve, MJF's been turned on by Adam Cole, etc., etc. It feels like this one is kind of like potentially the one where the winner could be next in line for a title shot. We'll get that. We'll get to that in a minute. But the story work between these two has undoubtedly been fantastic, and it also goes to the proves the point that the telling stories part of AEW is they brought this in really really well with these two guys in there.
I like the fact that you are focusing on your OGs. Like I can't believe we only seen this once with Adam Page and MJF. That promo was the longest segment in AEW,
Yeah.
lasting 23 minutes. But that promo just had me so synchronized and did not want to move away from my television. Um, I'm just glad. I think the last time, Adam, you and I were doing an episode of the Elite collaboration, we were kind of unsatisfied with the direction with MJF
Yeah.
and Jeff Jarrett. We're like, no, this is really just not necessary. So I'm glad that they moved away from that.
Yes.
And it's nothing against Jeff Jarrett, but again, Tony listens to us. I feel like time and time again. So this one I'm very excited for. The match itself, I can tell you, I don't know what the result's going to be, and I like that because I want to be unpredictable with my thoughts going into this pay per view. So I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see who wins, and you're right. I think whatever the outcome is going to be, it's going to be next in line for John Moxley's title or Adam Copeland's.
Or somebody else's. Yeah, I'll get
I
into
mean,
that.
yes, we will get in that for sure.
We'll get to that in a minute. I just want to. I need to shout someone out. So we're not going to mention her on this show today. So I've put her in specifically here just because when we went through character changes, like last year, we went from Tony Storm to Timeless Tony Storm. It's gone back to Tony Storm, and now it's gone back to Timeless Tony Storm. I want to get a shout out here to Harley Cameron. And it
Mm,
was she has like she was always the kind of joker in the pack with Soraya and all of that stuff. We saw, I mean, her rap thing for Mercedes last week was tremendous, or the week before was tremendous when she done it. Then she turned on her serious side as well, so she stopped that rap, and then she turned into this serious type. You don't think I've got a chance, but you have to start somewhere. Everyone has to win at some point. And she put on a great match with Mercedes. And I think now she's elevated herself and she's got herself over by showing how talented she is. Tony Khan's given her the platform to do so, and she's done that. But she's now, in my view, got to be considered as one of the top contenders for either championship on her own merit, by the way.
I very much agree with that. I'm telling you, this is what's beautiful about Harley is that she got over organically, not
Yeah.
forced. She she gets to be her witty self, but when she's in the ring, that match against Mercedes, yeah, it was a really good match. Um, could we see the rematch? No,
Mm.
but this is the good thing about having another women's championship. Um, not saying she's going to go heel against, Tony Storm or Mariah May, but yes, I very much agree to the fullest, Adam. Like Harley Graham or Harley Cameron or the ventriloquist, the singer. It's just she is so the best, man. Like I want to say it was last September or October. I was doing a special women's squirt circle because we were short on the special that month. So I was doing a top 10 with Elise and Majestic Marie, which is a founder of a great page that I really like. And anyway, so we're doing a special top 10 underutilized women in AEW. Harley Cameron was actually in my top five. And that really stands true to this day. I don't think she's underutilized. She's just getting wicked over. She was way over in Texas when she did their little concert, I guess. The match was phenomenal, like I said, against Mercedes. I thought, that was just fun. And then this past Wednesday, sorry, yesterday,
Yesterday.
it was wicked over in Phoenix. So people are feeling the wrath of Harley Cameron.
They are. They certainly are, and more power to her. Which is going to bring us actually again. I've changed the order of the running I'm going to talk about here. The Hollywood ending. It's now going to be called, I believe, at Revolution between Timeless Tony Storm and Mariah May. I mean, this goes back to before All In last year, but it goes back to the Owen, I think, if I remember rightly. Mariah May winning that, getting her shot turning straight on Timeless Tony Storm. She beats her, or she's kind of beaten her on her patch. Tony beat her on her patch. Obviously, we had the in between bit of kind of Tony going back to old Tony Storm to confuse everybody when she's really Timeless Tony Storm, just going back to her old self, which was really well done. These two have had a really good feud on this. And again, we talked about just now Hardy Cameron and the way that she, changes herself. Tony Storm has done that. She turned that timeless thing into an absolute. I think someone said the character of the year or some kind of whatever they want to call it award. I can't see Tony dropping this early. But I do want to throw somebody else into the mix just because I've seen her the last couple of weeks and she's made an impression. That's Megan Bain, someone that I think is going to be possibly next in line for one of the two championships. But anyway, going back to this match, I mean, Tony Storm, Mariah May, it is literally going to be a Hollywood ending to this feud, isn't it?
It's going to be a sad one, man, because honestly, I don't want it to end, but some good feuds come to an end, and this one will be remembered as one of the best storylines that AEW has ever made. You know, I always thought, the Adam Page and Kenny Omega was one of the best feuds building, one of the best storylines, but I think Mariah and Tony really has surpassed that, if I can be honest. One of my followers mentioned this should actually be a first blood match. I kind of would like that. That would be cool. I'm just hoping there's actually indeed a stipulation more than just a Hollywood ending. Maybe a cinematic match, okay? We haven't seen those since probably the pandemic days. I think it was Sting and Darby,
Oh, yes, it was. Yeah,
Starks and Cage, I think. I could be wrong on that.
I think you're right.
So it's been a while.
It has been, but it should be a great end to a feud. Now, moving on now, I don't know if this match has been made official yet. I saw an interview with Mercedes Moné recently, and I had the unfortunate aspect of listening to this anyway. But she is apparently there was an issue in Japan with Momo Watanabe. I think that's the name. I'm hoping
Yeah.
that's right. I don't know if it's been made official, but it's on the list here that I'm reading off that Mercedes will be defending her title against her at Revolution. Now, obviously, I don't know Momo, so I'm not going to disrespect her and say how good or bad she is. I don't know a lot about her, but Mercedes, I don't think will drop that against Momo, to be quite honest with you. And she's obviously got the Rev Pro stuff. She's coming over here in April, I believe, to Doncaster to finally defend her first defense of the Rev Pro Championship. Um, for you, how long does Mercedes' run last as the TBS champion?
I think they're really going to hold it off until all in Texas and Athena wins in her home state. I just think that will be a great conclusion to her title reign. I think Athena's well deserving of that position. Tony loves his hometown heroes time and time again. It's proven, except in Australia. Except in Australia. I don't think there was one Australia winner.
Tony
So
Storm.
that's interesting. Um, so I think that's how long it's going to be.
Hmm.
So I'm just trying to think maybe someone else, but I kind of was hoping there would have been that, part three of Stat and Mercedes, and Stat finally getting the win. But hey, things happen, and yeah, I'm gonna go with that. That's my prediction, and I'm gonna be present at All in Texas, so I want to see something cool happen like that. So um, that's my guess. And the whole thing with Momo Wannabe, like, yeah, she did her thing to Mercedes at Wrestle Dynasty, beating the crap out of her. So, um, oh, sorry, that was Athena. No, that was not Mercedes. But yes, this does go back since Wrestle Dynasty of last month. So,
It would be interesting to see what happens in that one, as I don't know. But Athena's a great shout. She'll obviously eventually drop that Ring of Honor championship at some point when down the line, possibly. I think if she drops it before All In, then I think you probably
yes.
hit the nail on the head with what you've just said. So what we will see. I did mention that would hit Kenny Omega, and we're going to get to him now against Konosuke Takeshita for the international championship. Do you know? I'm still drawn on this one. I don't know. I mean, again, predictions next week, of course, but I mean, this match itself, I don't know. You look at these matches on this card, and you're kind of trying to put them in an order of who's going to get match of the night, and the sleeper one is MJF and Hangman. You could argue, but for me, it's going to be out of Osprey, Fletcher, Konosuke, and Kenny. The story's there as well, which is another massive important thing. And what AEW have done so well is they brought the stories into this. It's not just two random guys. There is a story behind it. They're two incredible talents in the ring. I think that's probably going to be my favorite over the cage match, just because the cage match is going to be a cage match. You're kind of expecting it to be really good. You're going to expect that massive spot that you've mentioned there off the cage at some point. But for pure wrestling, Omega and Takeshita is going to be absolutely off the charts.
Yeah, I mean, this goes back since, geez, the summer of 2023. So again, yeah, like good storyline built for this, and I think Kenny's gonna come out on top with this one.
Oh,
And that's just it. I don't want to see this amazing reign of Takeshi come to an end either. He's been such an amazing workhorse since holding this title. But Kenny is very well deserving of it as well. And I think that's going to lead to All In Texas with Okada and Kenny. Maybe, hmm, I want to say maybe not really merge the titles, but maybe they're going to part way with the Continental title.
mm,
But I don't know. So that's what I think is going to happen. But yeah, this match could certainly be the match of the night. And, more when we talk about Revolution, this is what AEW does every time. This is their WrestleMania, I think.
mm.
It's just, I don't think there's ever been one bad Revolution.
I think so.
Maybe during the pandemic because it was, kind of boring. Because,
Yeah,
yeah, maybe because there was not a lively crowd or anything, but
exactly.
still, that says a lot.
Yeah, exactly that. No, you're absolutely right. We'll get onto this one now. This the final match of Revolution at the moment, anyway. I'm sure we probably could get Ricochet and Swerve into the Revolution at some point, but not currently announced at the point. Moxley and Cope. Now, this is one that's kind of divided me a little bit, and I was hoping Dave was going to join us today to get his view on it, but fortunately he's
Hey,
working. The the intrigue for me of this one has I'll give you this. I'll let you have your bit, and I'll give you my interesting potential ending. It's not one I think is going to happen, but it's just me putting a creative hat on stuff. Um, the interest levels in me with this, I'll be honest with you, has kind of gone a little bit because the whole not because I was expecting Shane, but they built this up where there was always an interior motive with Mox. Mox was seemingly working for somebody. That was kind of how it was going. Now, I don't know whether they started that because of the stuff with Shane was happening in the background and they wanted to feed it in case it did happen. And this is convenient how this he's been ghosting. Shane has come out like a week or two before a pay-per-view, which could actually mean he's coming. They're just trying to throw you off that scent even further. I don't know. And if that does happen, then fair enough. And I should have waited until after the show before I say what basically what I'm saying now. But for me, when that kind of disappeared off and it's just kind of been the Death Riders going about their business, attacking AEW and more people coming in, Cope coming in and whatnot, I've kind of just said, well, this is kind of this kind of no substance to it. That's me personally. I was like, I love Cope as well, by the way. Got tattoos all over me for Edge or Cope. And I just kind of lost interest in it a little bit going into this match in a couple of weeks' time. As I said, that match could finish in 2 weeks. We could come on here on the Monday, and I could just literally be eating a lot of humble pie, which I have done in the past when I've said things, but it's what it is. But I can only go by my feelings now. I'm not as interested in this match as I was 6 months ago. Let's just say that. But for you, and I'll give you my, as I say, creative ending in a minute. For you, is it now Cope's time for him to win the heavyweight championship?
there is certainly a couple things that's really going into this match because I'm with you, man. Like, I mean, in the beginning, I really loved this whole Death Riders thing,
Mm.
but it really has stalled and fizzled out. So you need to, in fact, pivot some things for sure. So there's a couple things that I could certainly see happening here. Um, I guess we can both do our little creative ideas.
Mhm.
Number one, I could certainly see Copeland win, but then we see a beatdown from not the Death Riders.
Okay.
We see an attack from Jay White.
Oh, okay.
And
Different
then
take.
what that leads to is to the cash in or whatever you want to call it with
Yeah.
Christian Cage, because Tony has so much appreciation for Christian Cage. And I think eventually he would like to see him as world champion. I mean, I think this would be fun with Christian Cage, to be honest.
Yes.
Um, so I think he's only been a world champion maybe 2 or 3 times, twice with TNA, and then I believe one time with WWE. So um,
Just check that. But go on.
I believe it was a 2 time champion in TNA.
I'm
Um,
checking both, but keep going.
so, and the reason why I'm thinking Jay White will be turning on Adam Page, yeah, okay, will be turning on Copeland. Adam Copeland said in an interview with the Leaf Nation recently
Hmm.
he wants to pair with somebody, and then that where it could lead to him finding the guy that he wants to push bigger heights for AEW.
Okay.
Right now, that's with Jay White. I miss Jay White being a heel.
Yeah.
Not saying he's not bad as being a face, but I can't buy into a baby face Jay White. I just can't. And then I think that's going to lead into the feud with, in fact, Cope and Jay White leading to All In. Um, that's what I think. So I think at the end of the pay per view, we're going to see a new winner and we're going to see a betrayal. and then John Moxley can go on to do whatever he's going to do next. So um, that's my guess. I'm curious to hear your creative direction there, my friend.
Yeah, I'll give you that in a second. Christian, a two-time NWA TNA champion, a one-time Impact World Champion, a two-time WWE Heavyweight Champion, and a two-time WWE ECW Champion. Not that ECW and WWE means fuck all, but it's just that was
Wow.
what. Along with a massive other list of champions that if I'd done that, we'd still be here tomorrow with the amount of titles that Christian has won. I'll give you my idea, and it's kind of similar to yours, with what you just said. So Copeland wins. Christian goes to cash in. He gets attacked by Jay White, and then as Jay White's in the ring with Copeland, uh, the Death Riders surround the ring. So Jay White prevents the cash in, but when I was talking about Shane McMahon being the person behind the Death Riders, it turns out the leader of the Death Riders is Cope. And they attack Jay White, which is kind of leading to where you going in that direction. I just
Interesting.
switched it up. Yeah. Copeland is actually the person behind it. So the way that it pan is he had to do all of that stuff to take the beatings and everything like that, just to throw everybody off the scent that he wasn't going to be nothing to do with them. And it turns out that Copeland is it. And his pick was he keeps the title with Moxley. And then when he was ready to claim that championship, he would beat Moxley, but the title doesn't leave the Death Riders. It stays, but just with the leader being Cope.
What's your address so I can mail you my credit cards? That is wow, dude. I never thought of that. Wow, that's way better than my prediction. I love that a lot, man. Wow, that is perfect. I like that.
We'll see. Listen, probably ain't going to happen, but you never know. It is AEW, and sometimes the best stuff happen, or the best stuff certainly happens on pay-per-views. They always save. Not saying they don't do stuff on Dynamite Collision, but if there's anything that you will always say that AEW knock it out of the park in, it's their pay-per-view shows. They're always great. I mean, the crowds are great. The crowds have been great, to be honest, on both shows ever since they've made that move, which we've said all along. Those smaller venues, because they sell out, it creates a lot more noise. Pay-per-views itself always do bigger numbers. That's just because they're pay-per-views, and they can book the bigger arenas because they're bigger shows. That's the whole point of it. They'll do great work on that. But before we go, though, Gary, and obviously you've mentioned Willow Nightingale. You've got a women's round table coming up in about 45 minutes or so that you're doing on your page. What else have you got coming up?
Yeah, so I got quite a bit. So I will be doing a AEW Dynamite vlog. The day when I go to Dynamite, I'm going to be sharing, clips as the day goes by. So there's that. I'm going to be doing a very first international roundtable. And I have been waiting to ask you, sir, to see if you want to partake in that because there is this guy named Luke. He is actually from Australia. So he's going to be joining me. I need somebody from the UK. And who could I ask for then to, ask my amazing friend here, my great collaboration buddy, Mr. Adam Cousins, and maybe Dave.
Maybe Dave.
Maybe Dave. Would you
Well,
like to partake in that?
just let me know when it is, and then I will. I certainly would love to. That's for sure. I'd love to come on. That'd
Awesome.
be awesome to talk to everybody from around the globe. Anyway, that'd be fantastic. But yeah, that would be great. And on top of that, as you say, your interview with Willow's coming up very, very soon. Are you? Is it? You had some. You mentioned on your page recently that you've had some agreements with some bands because you're putting together some form of
Oh,
documentary, right?
yes. That is another interview. March 30th. Can't wait for that. That will be with the Pretty Wild. Jill and Julia has been so amazing with this collaboration. Um, they're a little bit on one thing I will say about Jill and Julia that they have such an amazing feel with their music. It sounds like a little pops in the beginning, and then all of a sudden they're aggressive with their metal tone. They call it new metal. and
Okay.
you metal. But they are such an amazing duo. You know, they they're creating me an intro song. Like, how cool is that?
Awesome.
Um, they just pinned my top comment here like the other night, caught me off guard. They are always emailing me, appreciating me. They did say something that they want to do a very promising collab, another step to it. I don't know what that means, but that is cool to know. So, yes, a pair of interviews, a vlog, an international roundtable. Um, Got to be bringing something different to the table as well. I'm going to be something that a lot of followers has requested for me to do, and that is do a pre-show for Dynamite and Collision. So I would be going live an hour before the show to hype everybody up. Um, I'm bringing All Elite Q&A trivia back. Um, it's just so much that I'm very excited for, and being 5 years being a content creator, I want this to be the most amazing year yet. Um, but yeah, the Will Nightingale and Pretty Wild is something that I thought would never happen. So I thank AEW and I thank Jill and Julia for this to happen. So
Definitely. So, you mean yourself, it's actually pretty wild, right? That's basically what you should have
that
said.
is pretty wild.
Yeah, right. That is pretty good. I just need to quickly run down a few bits that we've got coming up. I'm recording the last in the series of Independent Showcase Season 2, which starts in March, but I'm recording the last episode tomorrow with a referee from Newcastle called Katie Cosby. Hollywood Haley J, take two. We did record a take one. The file got corrupt. She's been really good. She said that we can definitely record, so we should be recording that again this week. I've apologized to her quite a bit, but she's really cool about it, and it's just she'll be coming back on. An NWA Spotlight will be recorded this week with Joe Ocasio, who's just about to go for the NWA World Heavyweight Championship on the show on Friday from New York. They're going to do that. Fingers crossed, toes crossed, everything crossed. I'll be interviewing RVD this week. We've had a couple of timing issues from the UK to you. He's at 8 hours behind, so it's been really difficult to narrow it down. But obviously that coming soon. Obviously Gangrel, Scott Steiner as well be coming soon. I need my Steiner math ready. Son's just signed a NIL contract with the WWE, I believe. That's the wording of it. So lots of fun stuff coming up on the channel as well. But of course, you've got your Facebook page, which is FTR Follow the Revolution, to make sure people do that. Did you say that you've got a YouTube as well? And what is it?
Yes, just like on Facebook, FTR Follow the Revolution. So
Yes. So make sure you follow that. Follow us at HTT Buckle on X, HTT Buckle on YouTube, Hitting the Turnbuckle Podcast, and all other social media platforms. Gary, let's do this again next week. Will be the week before Revolution, which will be a great time for us to chat, and we do our predictions. We'll have probably a lot more news and stuff that would have broken in that week. There's not a week that goes by where loads of news doesn't happen about wrestling. We'll do this again next week. Thank you so much for coming across the pond onto the podcast. And until next time, everybody, stay elite, stay safe, and goodbye.